Well, here we are today, and this is Discover How to Unlock the Power of AI. And for many of you, this will reveal a few secrets about how you can actually build your productivity gains. But the first thing we want to talk about is sometimes this is the elephant in the room. It's like, can AI really help me do my job faster and easier? Now, in our experience, we have found it knows your job. And it doesn't matter what your job is, it knows your job. And I have had people say to me, yeah, but my job is really different. It still knows your job because it's been trained on pretty much everything. And not only does it know in your role what you do, but it knows how it can help you do this faster and easier, which means increased engagement, increased efficiency, and increased effectiveness. So for a business owner, that means increased profitability. And for an employee, that means you become more valuable to the company. Therefore, you could possibly ask for a pay rise. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to demonstrate that for you in ChatGPT. Now, before I dive into the GPT demonstration that I'm going to do for you, what I want you to take notice of is these things under here. Now, we will cover some of this in today's workshop, but analyzing images, creating code, getting advice, summarizing text, creating images. These are all the different things that can really help you save time. And as we move through our examples, you will see some of them. But if you haven't had a play with these sort of things, next time you start a chat, have a little bit of a play and just see what comes up for you. Now, this is the voice mode, so you can actually talk to ChatGPT and it will talk back to you. When this is not grayed out, that means when you put an inquiry in, it will search the web and it will gray out on some of the models, or if you upload an image, it won't then search the web. So there's a few things to keep an eye out for. And then the other tools that you can look at is you can create images using DALL-E. I'll show you some later. They're not brilliant, perfect, not as good as Midjourney, but they're getting better. And then Canvas is another model that you can go into where instead of having the chat and the prompts all on the one screen, you actually have all of your prompts and everything on the left-hand side, and it's only the output that's on the screen. So, and sometimes it randomly switches to Canvas. So just remember, if something odd comes up and you don't know what to do next, you can either the old, when you used to contact IT and they'd say, have you rebooted your laptop? Well, you can refresh your screen and see what happens. But also you can simply say to ChatGPT, I don't understand what you've just done, what's going on, and it will tell you. Now, having said all of that, what I'm going to demonstrate for you today, now this is a GPT that we've written. Are you familiar with GPTs at all? Cool. Mm-hmm. Right. For some people aren't, and as I said, it's I assume, that a lot of people know stuff, and then I find out that they don't. So, right. So this is to demonstrate how you can use AI to become more effective in your role. Would you like to do your role?
Yeah. Do you mind, you mean?
Yeah. If you just give me your job title and maybe the name of the company or the type of company, and then we'll throw it in and see what comes up.
So accountant, senior manager on senior manager on business advisory.
Let me try that. Senior manager business advisory for an accounting firm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's all the context that we're going to give it. Sometimes what I do is you can just copy and paste people's LinkedIn profiles as well. And you don't have to format them. You can just dump all the information in and it will tell you. So what we do before we start training you is we have a look at what are the type of things that you in your role will be doing. So what AI is saying is that you are most likely to have these 8 core competencies or areas of expertise: client advisory, financial planning, regulatory compliance, business strategy and growth, tax planning and strategy, operational efficiency, stakeholder reporting, team leadership and development. And then underneath each of those, we've then broken those down into 8 different role deliverables. So these are the things that you would be likely to be doing under those umbrellas. And I'm just going to let somebody else in. Does that look reasonable as a first draft for you?
Yeah, it looks reasonable. Yep.
Okay. All right. So then what we would do is we would say, okay, that's what your role deliverables are. That's the things that you work on. But what are likely to be the key problems that you need to solve in your role? And you come up with your KPIs, basically. Now, this can be a little bit overwhelming for some people because there's 2 matrices with like 64 different things. Like, where do you start? Well, we're not going to look at everything today, but the idea of showing you this is that you can use AI to break down something as complex as how do I get better at my role and what problems and KPIs can I address. And if you can come up with a matrix like this, and I'm not saying that all 64 are going to move the needle, but a fair chunk of them would. And what happens here is, instead of starting from that blank page syndrome, we're starting from like, here's a whole matrix that you could review. And even if you just focused on the top 10, you would make a big difference in your role. So if we now go back up to the first matrix, is there something there that you'd like to do a deep dive on? Can you read that on your phone?
Trying.
Would you like me to read something out, or is there something you're working on at the moment?
I would say do the business growth roadmaps.
So business growth roadmaps. All right. So what's going to happen now is, this is how the GPT has been written, is that we're going to show you how you can use AI. And again, this is what I teach you to do, is not only to create a step-by-step process, but as you can see here, what we're doing is we're actually generating the prompts that you would need to run this deliverable. So you would put the first prompt into a new chat, then you would put the second prompt in, and you can see here that it's asking for context and information. And again, when you run something like this, if it says, tell me about the competitive landscape or the competitors, and you don't know, guess what you do? You just say, I don't know who the competitors are. Can you list them out for me? So it's not meant for you to be going away and doing lots of research. If you get to the point where you're not, you don't have the answer, for argument's sake, there might be something about regulations, and you could say, tell me what the latest regulations are for this, rather than try and figure it out for yourself. So essentially what we come up with now is a 10-step process, which will give you a whole business growth roadmap ready to present to your clients. So let's have a look now at a time analysis. And I know I'm talking too much because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, we're going to have to go fast soon. So typically, and again, we're using AI to create the analysis. So these are estimates. In general, what we find is that the AI overestimates how much time it will take with AI. But if you have a look at this, what we're looking at is, okay, each time you run one of these, you could potentially save between 10 and 15 hours. And if your assumed hourly rate is $75, which I don't know whether that's insulting or not, each time you run this, like the productivity gain is over $1,000. So if you do 2 a month, then you've already looked at productivity gains in the order of more than 2,000. If we then applied that to all of your role, it's a bit slow today, so I apologize. I think my internet's not running as fast as it normally does. So, but you can see how quickly it does generate outputs for you. So what it's saying here is that it could save you roughly 50% of the time that you spend on these knowledge work type tasks. And I would imagine that most of that is what you do on a day-to-day basis. So if we have a look at that, then you can start to see how implementing AI can really have an impact on a business. And it's like, okay, well, if you can do that, what would you do with it? How could you use that? And this might be something that you could talk to your clients about too, in terms of you could possibly have someone in a fractional role rather than a full-time role if the business can't really afford to have that many people, or versus if your business needs to save money, you could do that, but you wouldn't want them to do that. The other option is same payroll, but much more output. So then you become much more valuable to the firm. And the third option that we normally talk about is strategic problem solving. So what this means is that by getting AI to work on the other tasks for you, what you're actually doing is freeing up some time so that you can work on bigger picture or higher impact strategic work. And I know, like when I was in a corporate environment, I was a sales manager. So there were times when I would have killed for even an extra 2 or 3 hours just to stop and think and be proactive rather than reactive all the time. Now, we could continue to do a deep dive into that and come up with plans and ideas and ways to do things. But then we'll get to 1 o'clock and we won't have done anything else except explore one GPT. So I'm just going to jump back and then quickly, for those who haven't met me yet, my name is Michelle Hill and I'm an AI transformation expert. And my philosophy is that really we need to be empowering our human potential with AI, not worried about, is AI going to take my job? I am part of a group called Simple Consultants. I am a former sales and marketing executive. So my background and industry experience is in food manufacturing and packaging. And I am a coach. I do have a master's in business, and I actually love adventure travel. So, and the reason I'm telling you all of this background is that this is what helps shape me in terms of how I help people implement AI into their roles. In that, you know, I've had a lot of corporate experience and a lot of understanding in terms of how to manage time, manage stress, and manage teams. Now, as I mentioned, the purpose of AI, I feel, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of other people in the media who agree with me, is to amplify our human potential. Now, this isn't to say that the nature of work and the nature of jobs is not going to change in the coming years, but it still is important to have a human in the loop and a human in control and to have that human input. As I said, I'm just moving ahead quite quickly here because I spent too much time talking before. Now, AI and you. So if you had to classify yourself, would you say it's non-existent, it's emerging, it's developing, it's advanced, or it's optimized. And David, I didn't get a chance to say hi to you when you jumped on, so feel free to join in and let me know where you sit on this scale as well.
Thanks, Michelle. For me, emerging, maybe between emerging, developing.
Okay, cool. Tam?
I would say for me, it's emerging.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm sure that well, I'll make a grand promise here. I'm sure that you'll find something of interest today that you can take away and apply straight away. Now, what I'm finding at the moment too is that there's a lot of people in that emerging area, but they're not really sure where to go from there. And a lot of the stuff you see, the marketing messages, is all about tools or, you know, download my 10,000 prompts and all this sort of stuff. My question with those sort of things is always, you know, if you've got so many prompts, how do you actually decide which one to use? And there's nothing wrong with tools, but remember that if you have an AI tool for a specific purpose, then that's all it will do for you. Whereas if you understand large language models and what is possible, then you can pretty much create your own tools as the need arises. Now, for me, what I work with is the AI transformation method. And my goal is to equip every single person, either employee or business owner, to produce every single role deliverable faster and easier with AI. So we create that role plan, which you saw me do in the demonstration before, and then we teach you a whole bunch of skills so that you can actually do each of these boxes on your role plan better, faster, and easier. And that's where you start to see those huge transformational gains. And what I've got here too is the productivity canvas. And this is what we use about halfway through our training, where we actually use it to analyze workflows, whether it's a workflow for you or a workflow that has a number of different people contributing to it. And then you look at all of the deliverables in the workflow and what could be done by AI or what could be delegated to an assistant and what still needs your input. And then that way you can start to get the really big productivity gains that, so beg your pardon, are going to help you in the future. Now, a lot of people, as I said, they're not really sure where they want to start. And some of the transformational gains and the productivity gains we've seen literally after the first hour, where people are just learning how to interact with a large language model, are quite significant. But we often see this as well. You know, not everybody is on board. Not everybody wants to be part of the change process, and people are still skeptical and not comfortable with what's happening. And that, like, I mean, that's their prerogative. The problem is if you refuse to even acknowledge or learn about it, then at some point you will get left behind. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is that where we sit right now, technology has actually outpaced most of our work skills in terms of how do I use this amazing tool that I have access to. And you wouldn't actually, you know, hand someone the keys to a racing car like this and then expect them to just get out on the track and win a race. But often I'm finding that that's what's happening with AI, in that companies are providing licenses and you know, giving people the opportunity to use large language models or ChatGPT in the workplace. And then they get disappointed because they don't see the big productivity gains that they were expecting, but they forget that people possibly haven't learnt how to do that. So what do I do? Well, not to blow my own trumpet, but we believe that we deliver the most effective AI training. We start from white belt, which is getting you comfortable with the base model tools, which we're going to go through a little bit of that today. Then we look at how do you use AI in your role in terms of creating those SOPs and what prompts do you need to actually run those SOPs and be effective. How do you use AI as your problem-solving partner and your thinking partner? How do you create GPTs so that you can run those repetitive tasks really quickly? Now, not every large language model has the capability to do GPT-like products, but we can create the same effect by using long prompts. And then we help you build tools where you 100 times your productivity and more. That's the role analysis that I mentioned before. Then we look at what does your future role look like? What did you used to do without AI? What can you do with AI at the capability level that it's at now? And what is it likely to look like in the future? And how can that change your role? Then we teach you how to develop agent-like products. And you might have seen in the news with OpenAI, excuse me for a moment, they've launched Operator. Now this is in beta phase and it's only available in the States if you have the $200 a month platform. And Operator is actually going to be, it's more autonomous and it goes off and it works for 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes doing the tasks that you've given for it. It's still a bit clunky and it's very slow. Apparently, I haven't tried it myself because I'm not in the US, but in the meantime, we teach you how to create the same effect with minimal input from you. As we move further into the more sophisticated models, the amount of time that the large language model can work autonomously is going to improve. And then lastly, when we get to black belt, we look at automation and API, and not written on there is we also look at strategy and how you can modify different models to problem solve in your business. And just quickly, there are some people who really like my training. So I trained Michelle in January and we did a 2-day intensive. So this was after one day when her head was exploding, but she was very happy. And also Bobby, he came into the training saying, you know, like I'm pretty good at ChatGPT, but, you know, I'm happy to learn more. And then, yeah, I was really surprised at how much he actually learned. So then we get to white belt. So this would be, if you were training with me, we would have done your role plan, we would have personalized your large language model, got you like gone through like all the different stuff hiding in the settings. And then we would start to look at, okay, how do I interact with, and I'm just going to say ChatGPT, but, you know, imagine something else. The first thing you do, obviously, is you need to create an account. And I know that sounds mega obvious, but I actually had somebody come to one of my workshops in January, where the purpose of the workshop was to create an AI policy using the prompts that I provided during the workshop. And when we got to, okay, now copy and paste this prompt into ChatGPT, he actually said, I don't have an account yet. Keep going, I'll create an account and I'll catch up. And he was still, he had to upgrade halfway through the class because he ran out of tokens, but he still managed to create a really good draft of an AI policy. The other thing too is that if you're going to use ChatGPT regularly, having the app on your phone is super helpful. It's much, I find it much easier using the voice functions. And you can also, if you generate images, you can actually edit the images on your phone, but you can't edit them on your laptop. And then these are all the different ways that you can actually interact with ChatGPT. So we've got text to text, text to image, text to code, text to file, voice to text, image to text, web to text. So, you can draw information from the web and create regular reports if you want to. And you can also, with the new ChatGPT task, you can set alerts where ChatGPT will, I think it's email you and tell you, okay, this is ready, or this is happening, or you asked for an update on this and here it is, kind of thing. File to text, and then voice to voice, you can have a chat with it. Super fun for translating. And then code to text. So let's just jump straight in. So the obvious one is text to text, which I think everyone is familiar with, and most people have used that before. But what I've come up with, I just chose these areas as functional areas of a business. And then I've put some examples here of how you might use the text to text function, get my mouth working, when you're using ChatGPT. And then here is, now this is a really good generic prompt. The only thing I would say is, instead of saying list all the ways you can help me, you can put a number in there if you want to as well, because sometimes it'll be lazy and it'll only give you 3 options. But when you give it clear context, like this is what I want to do and this is my obstacle and I need you to help me, so tell me the ways that you can help me. So if you want to follow along, I'm just going to run that in ChatGPT just to show you as an example. So if you'd like to create one of your own, feel free. Do you need me to copy that into the chat, or you're okay to type that in?
I'm fine. I'll watch along and see what you do.
Okay, cool. You right, David?
Yeah, I'll watch along as well, if that's cool.
That's fine. I don't mind what people do. All right, so let's have a look. So when you do, I might say list 10 ways you can help me. I'll just change that so we get 10 different things. Okay, so here you can see, just by being clear and concise and giving it some boundaries, and it doesn't sound like it in that prompt, but then what you can do is, and this, what I like is, when you ask for ideas, often what I find is that there'll be 1 or 2 in there that I really hadn't thought of or I hadn't considered. And then you could take any one of those and do a bit more of a deep dive. Lost my cursor, there it goes. So that's basically text to text. So then if we say text to image, again, here's some ideas for some of the different functional areas. So you can get it to create pie charts and bar graphs, create visual maps of workflows. Sometimes what I find, it's almost like it gets lazy, like I'll say, create me this, and they'll say, oh, I can't really do that. And I'll say, but okay, if you can't do it, how do I do it, or where do I get it from? Or you can say, yes, you can, because you've done it before. So at times you kind of forget it is just like having a conversation. There's no right or wrong ways. So then I'm going to ask it to generate a book cover for me. So let's have a look at that and see what it comes up with. As I said, I still find DALL-E, which is the image generator within ChatGPT, to be reasonably basic, but it's getting better all the time. If you want really good images and you're not sure where to get them, all you do is you ask ChatGPT, what is the best platform to create lifelike images, and which one would you recommend, and all that sort of stuff. So there you go. There's the cover for my new book. And if I didn't like that, I could say, make it more colorful, please. And I'm in the habit of being polite, just in case. So let's see what it comes up with this time. Have you tried these ones, guys?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there you go. So there's more color in that one. So can you think of ways that you might use it in your role? You don't have to shout out, but just as we're going through and I'm putting some examples up, start to think of ways that you might actually use this. So now we're going to look at text to code. And here are some examples. Now, to be honest, I don't know a lot about code. I know how to generate code on ChatGPT and where to go and how to use it, but I'm not a coder and I don't have coding in my background. So this may or may not be helpful for you, but you can, you know, as I said, what I want you to see is that you yourself can actually create the code. So what I'm going to do now is say, I want a website for my book, and can you generate the code to do this for me? Okay, so now it's decided. Remember I said before it goes off and it goes into Canva sometimes. So I'm going to ask it to put it back in the chat. Stephen's coming in, and let's do that again. Hey, Stephen, we're just in the middle of demoing, and here comes Karen. Everyone's jumping in halfway today. That's fine. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is show that ChatGPT can generate code for you. And the prompt I put in was, I want a website to promote my new book. And here is the code. So if you're a non-coding person, that probably doesn't mean much to you. And it's giving you two options as well. So I'm just going to let that run because we'll come back to that in a moment. And let's go back to the next one, which is text to file. So some of the examples here are generating your downloadable files, like generating your PDFs and downloadable Excel spreadsheets, purchase orders as PDFs. If you've got SOPs, if you want to put them in Word documents or PDF files or any of that sort of stuff. And the other thing I find too, it does get a little bit lazy here sometimes as well. When I ask it to create, for example, a downloadable Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, every now and again it'll say to me, I don't have the capability to do that. And I'm like, well, yes, you do, because you did it for me yesterday. Try again. And 9 times out of 10, it will do it. Sometimes it gets really stubborn and it won't do it for me. So I just say, okay, well, I'll just copy and paste it myself then. So it is sometimes like having not so much a contrary assistant, but being generative AI, you're never 100% sure exactly what you're going to get out. So if we had a look at text to file, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to change that code into a downloadable file for me. And let's see if it cooperates. Because it's great when you run demos in workshops and things don't work. It's like, okay, what do I do now? So you can see it's analyzing. And sometimes that takes a little while. So has anybody got any questions so far? We might come back to that in a moment. And then the voice to text. Some of the use cases is transcribing sales calls or client meetings. You know, if you're out and about and you want to use your phone, you can just talk into your phone and it will record it for you and actually generate the text. And you can then ask for a downloadable file to be created from the text. You can record your thoughts. You can ask for ideas about different things. On-site incidents for safety, workplace health and safety people, giving employee feedback, all sorts of ways to do that. So on your phone, and for those of you who haven't downloaded the app yet, when you go to use the voice function, the microphone function here is voice to text. So if you use that, you talk and ChatGPT will type out what you're saying. This one here on this side, that's your voice to voice. So when you talk, it will actually talk back to you. And you can go in and you can choose different voices. I think mine is Stephen with an American accent, so not you, Stephen Harvey. But it's fun to play with as well. And I did have someone say to me not so long ago that he'd just done a business trip to China and used it for translating and making sure that what people were telling him was actually the truth. Then we look at image to text. So what are some of the ways that you could use image to text? And again, if you guys have tried this feature, please let me know. I'll just let you, I don't want to just read out everything that's on the slide. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a prompt like this, and I'm going to put in this particular slide. So what I'll do is I will copy the prompt. And have I got that saved somewhere? Let me have a look. Let's have a look. You guys can see all my messy files. I'm letting out all my secrets here today. Let's find a screenshot that we can have a look at. Where is that one? Where is that one? Actually, let's just do this one. Oh, before I do that, you can see now it's created that downloadable file. Download the AI book website. So when I click on that, that actually just downloads it for me. And then I can open that up and that will be a little one-page website for me. So now we've got explain this slide to me and identify 5 key elements relevant for a HR manager. Now I just made that up, like making it relevant to a HR manager. I could just say explain this slide to me. So let's let that run. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of text on there. Let's see how well they do. So now it's telling me these are all the things that are on the slide. So that was just a screenshot of what's in the black belt training. And then why is this relevant for a HR manager? So as you can see, and one of the ways I use this is if I'm on a webinar like this and I see something interesting, I will grab a screenshot and then get ChatGPT to list out for me what's on the screenshot and explain it for me. And how can I use those ideas in my business? So where are we up to? So white belt. So we haven't been through all of them, but has anybody actually seen a use case so far that you hadn't thought of yet? Or something that you think, I'm going to try that as soon as I can?
Michelle, you just touched on something earlier. I was having lunch. That's why the camera wasn't on.
Yeah.
When you spoke about safety events and incidents and using ChatGPT for that, it's never even occurred to me to do that. And I kind of think there might be something in that for lots of organizations because they get bogged down in data entry and then they do nothing with the data.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And as I said, everybody has their phone. So, if you've got your phone with you, it's not like you're just dictating, because what you can say is, I'm going to dictate a report to you, and then I want you to do this, this, and this. So once you finish dictating, then it'll do your instructions as well. Or you can dictate, and then you can say, now I want you to, split this up into this and this, and now I want you to create a downloadable file for me. Yeah. Anyone else? That's okay. We'll just go with Stephen's idea. Now, I did have another demonstration that I am going to run for you, if you like. Now, when I mentioned to you earlier about analyzing workflows and creating agent-like products, the demonstration of an AI marketing agency is along these lines. And I'll run it fairly quickly, I think, because we are going to run out of time. So again, this is a GPT. And the idea is that the workflow is there's an account manager, and then they're working with a new client. So they have to analyze the client's prospective customers, so that then they can create this email sequence for their customer. And in the process, they go through a psychological evaluation, a brand story, copywriter, creative director review, back to the copywriter for the final copy. So I just wanted to show you that even when you have a fairly complicated workflow, you can actually automate quite a lot of it. And I'm going to cheat today, and I'm just going to use the example sentence there. So what it's asking is, tell me about your business. I sell product that helps the role achieve result. So I sell AI training that helps business coaches launch and scale a $1 million a year AI consultancy. We wish. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is you turn it over to the first person in the team that you're working with. Now, this is what actually happens in a marketing agency, because they need to understand who they are developing the content for. So it goes through this whole analysis process. And again, this has all been set up in the back with all the instructions and the examples of outputs too, because being generative AI, particularly when you're running GPTs, it's a good idea to put in the sample output that you want, so that each time you run the GPT, you get a very similar outcome. I mean, it's not a computer program, so it's not going to just give you the exact same thing every time. And to be honest, every now and again, when I run these GPTs as demonstrations, it does something completely different that I haven't seen before. So let's go off to our brand story expert. And now that we've done the psychological analysis, so now the brand story expert is going to set the stage of the framework that we're going to use. So this is the hero's journey, which you'll often see in marketing. So the character, the hero, he has a problem, and then they meet the guide, which is your company, and you express empathy and authority. You give them a plan, calls them to action, helps them avoid failure, and takes them to, oh, we've stopped. Takes them to success, right? So that's the background and the framework that we're going to work with. All we gave them at the start was that one sentence of context. So now we're going to turn over to the copywriter who's going to draft some emails. Now, I see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn about, oh, you know, AI generated content. Oh, now I'm just going to say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I agree with some of the posts in that some of it is definitely just a copy and paste, which I would never recommend. But there is also ways of making sure that what you write is actually quite reasonable to start with. Now, what you're getting here, I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but it gives you response 1 and response 2. This is their research. So I didn't read these properly. We'll just go with that one. Now, what we have here is we've generated 3 emails. Now, this is not my style. I don't like short emails with bullet points. So when I'm doing stuff, in my memory, it says do not use emojis and bullet points. Write in a proper normal style. But for the purpose of the demonstration, this is what we've got. So this is the first pass. So the copywriter has actually produced this for you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get ChatGPT to critique what it's just done. So we've given it the persona of, it's going to the creative director. So now the creative director is actually going to have a look at what's been created and suggest some improvements. So that's a tip for you guys. If you are creating content, what you can do is get your first draft and then ask ChatGPT to review it and tell you what improvements it could make. Once it's done that, then you get it to apply the improvements. That's, sorry, it's very slow today. So now we get the final drafts. So now it's going to apply the improvements that have been suggested, and this then comes back, and this would be the product that you would, if you were the account manager for this agency, you would then be giving these to the client and saying, okay, here's your emails to send out. And I don't know about you, but I am a little bit tired of seeing all these emojis, but never mind. So let's wrap up this project. Now, what we're going to do now is have a look at a time analysis. So the reason I'm showing you this type of stuff as well is that people who are charging, consulting fees to create big long reports and to do deep analysis for people are possibly going to need to rethink the way that they're running their business fairly soon, because as more and more people become aware of how much you can actually do with AI and how little time it takes, this $10,000 for that project might get questioned. And particularly once people have more access to deep research as well. I'm not sure if you've heard, that's, again, it's not available here yet, I don't think. And it's also only available on the $200 a month plan. But sorry, I'm just going to jump back here. Deep research will actually go off and it will work for 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour, and it will go and it'll show you where it's been and what it's been doing, and then it will provide a report for you at the end. So, having seen all that, if you wanted to work with me, and I've left myself 6 minutes for Q&A and the big ta-da sell bit. So I'm just going to quickly tell you, the first thing that we would do is we would create your AI role plan so that you then have a framework and a roadmap that we will be applying to all of the skills that you learn. And one of the things we can do is once we've created your role plan, we can use AI to then analyze it and put it in order of which one will have the biggest impact if I do this one first, second, third, and fourth. So again, you don't even have to figure out which order you would do it in, or you just simply, you choose something you are actually working on right that moment and do it with AI. I quickly went through the black belt training before. There's 8 sessions of training. We do a grey belt at the start, which includes your role plan and getting organized. And then one of the key differences is that I'm guaranteeing you your ROI. If you don't get 333% ROI, I will keep working with you until you do. And the way that I can offer this guarantee is that for every belt that you do with me, and as many more times as you want, we get you to fill out a transformation report. So we are tracking how long did it take for you to do this task without AI? How long did it take you to do it with AI? How many hours do you think you will save per month? And how satisfied were you with the output? And then, ta-da, I actually have training starting tomorrow. So normally, now there's 2 different ways I run my training. Some people are really impatient and they want to get it done straight away. So we do it as a 2-day intensive, and we include some time to work on your certification and your homework. Or we can do 1 session a week over 10 weeks, and then you do your homework in between. So if any of that appeals to you, just come and talk to me. Most of you know how to get in touch with me. And if that doesn't appeal to you, I certainly hope that you've learned something today. And also to remind people, if you are going to be using any type of AI in the workplace or in your business, it's probably a great idea to have an AI policy. And surprise, surprise, I have a workshop in 2 weeks' time where you can come along and create your AI policy. So that's about it for me with 3 minutes to spare. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Did you have an aha moment or something that you think that will be really helpful for me? Who'd like to go first? Okay, I'm overwhelmed with responses here. Dead silence. And would anybody like to say anything, or shall we call it a day and everyone can get back to their day?
Well, I just want to say thank you for just going through that. I mean, it's a lot to take in. I haven't used it all that much, sort of in those early stages. So it's certainly a lot to think about and how to apply it in the business. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Now, just making sure I've got everyone. As said at the start, normally I don't record these, but I actually did today because I had 3 or 4 people get in touch with me with apologies. So if you would like to put your email address in the chat, I'd be happy to send out a replay for you. So if you want to run this again a little bit slower and actually have more of a look and a play, please just pop your email address in there for me, and I will send that out to you I'm not going to promise today or tomorrow, because I'm running training all day tomorrow, but definitely in the next few days. Anybody else who has any questions? David, did you want to pop your email in and I'll send you the replay?
Will do. Thank you. And thanks for running such a considered and helpful session. That's great.
My pleasure. I love it. I love teaching people.